All right. Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to my virtual book tour. This is Rana el Kaliouby. If you do not know me and you're joining us for the first time, I am co-founder and CEO of Affectiva, and I'm also author of the newly published book, Girl Decoded. It's been a couple of weeks since the book has been out, and people have started reading their copies and listening to the audiobook, and the feedback has been really wonderful, and I just feel very fortunate and humbled and grateful for everybody who's taken time to read the book and also share how the book has resonated with them. Is everybody hearing me fine? I feel like there's a little bit of a weirdness. We're good? Okay, great. So today I'm very excited to introduce my guest, Dr. Ned Sahin. He is the founder and CEO of Brain Power, and we'll talk a little bit about what Brain Power does in a second. Ned has a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from Harvard. He has a master's from MIT, an undergraduate degree at Williams. He spent some time at Oxford, and a love your motto. Ned was interviewed for the book, and he and I have had, we've supported each other's work over the years. And I actually wanted to start with a story. So when I was back at Cambridge doing my PhD, the very first application that I explored for artificial emotional intelligence was to help individuals on the autism spectrum. And this all started with me presenting to the computer science department at Cambridge. And I was saying, I really want to train the computer to read facial expressions. And a fellow PhD student in the audience, Rob Haig, said, my brother has autism and he really struggles with understanding nonverbal signals. And I remember asking him, this was over 20 years ago now. And I said, what? Autism? Spell it? I had no idea. But I Googled it or whatever, searched for it online after my talk. And I just got fascinated with autism, and later on met Ross Picard, my co-founder. She's a professor at MIT. She invited me over to the Media Lab at MIT to explore the applications of emotion recognition to help individuals on the autism spectrum. And so the project that brought me over to the United States was basically this proposal to build a pair of glasses with a little camera that can track people's expressions and emotions. And indeed, we partnered with a school for autistic kids, deployed the technology. It was a very small scale project. Well, it was, at the time. So we worked with about 15 kids on the autism spectrum. And it really, really transformed my life and how I looked at different abled people. That provided the impetus for kind of starting Affectiva. Fast forward a few years, I got introduced to Ned, and lo and behold, Ned is actually starting a company and focused on building kind of smart augmented glasses to help individuals on the autism spectrum. And we've been collaborating. I'm a huge fan of Ned's work and your mission, Ned. And it's just, I'm so grateful to have you here with us today. So welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor, real honor to be here.
Thank you. So tell us more about Brain Power. What are you trying to do?
Absolutely. And it's an honor to be here and to have been included in your wonderful, wonderful book that I hope everyone gets a chance to experience. So thank you. Well, Brain Power, we are trying to unlock the power of the differently abled brain, and that's focusing primarily on people on the autism spectrum. So the good thing is most people out there do understand a bit about autism, and each person with autism is unique, absolutely unique, and yet there are themes that cover, large sets of people with autism. And for instance, one theme that covers many people on the autism spectrum is that there's a difficulty in understanding how facial expressions relate to emotions and how emotions govern actions. So what we needed was some way of using a computer to understand facial expressions, and then to do something that could motivate people to learn that mapping between expressions and emotions. And so we did, in fact, put that on glasses. Just at that time, 2013, Google had released Google Glass. I was one of the first people to get it. And I came up with the idea of,
tell people about like what is, so a lot of people may not have seen Google Glass. So explain it to us. Like what exactly, what's going on here?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, this is a computer. It's like a powerful, powerful computer, and it's in your personal sphere of sensory apparatus. So I say it that way to make the point that it can give you, to your eye, what you need to see, to your ear, what you need to hear, and can even give a buzz and a sort of haptic feedback. But to make it a little more tangible, there's a computer screen there. And if I see something on it, you can see it also, right?
Yeah.
And there is a bone conduction speaker here that gives me the sound I need. So that's great. It also has an accelerometer, gyroscope, system on a chip, GPU, CPU, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that's in there, and it's very good for kids. It's very flexible. So what do we do with that? Should I talk a little bit about the basics of what? Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So there's one thing that people on the autism spectrum tend to not look toward people when they're talking. Some that's stressful. Eye contact is stressful for all primates. For some, it might be that they're not noticing where the face is, or the face detection is difficult. Whatever it is, we make a game out of it. So I'm wearing the glasses. When I look toward a person, I get points for looking in that direction. If my posture slumps or I'm looking away, I'm not getting points. It's okay. It's up to me to choose. I want to get the points. It's not being forced on me, but it's a reminder, and it's a gamified reminder. It's fun, and they can compete with themselves or others. When I look toward a human, the face gets outlined, and when that outline, there's like a completing circle. When it completes, I get some kind of fun reward, and I get points along the way. Very simple, but that reinforcement learning, that feedback is very useful, and that's just a paradigm. So that's just step one, to guide the posture to be heads up and looking toward a person. And then step two is to recognize the emotions. Should I go into that one as well a little bit?
Yeah, totally.
So now I'm looking toward someone, and the really cool AI from Affectiva on there discerns what emotional expression the person is displaying. And then I get a little choice. There's two emoticons on either side, a happy versus surprised.
So say I look.
Yeah. And so it'll give me the choice, happy or surprised. And I have to choose, is it happy, turn my head one way, or surprised, turn it the other way. And if I get it right, I get the reward. If I don't get it right, I don't get punished, but I get some feedback on what was right. And I move on to the next. And meanwhile, I get to interact with the person I'm talking to, because that person gets a prompt on her or his phone or device that guides a little conversation like, yeah, I was surprised. Tell me 3 times that you were surprised. And so we go into the deeper level of processing around not just the facial expression, but what the emotion means in their life. And so that game becomes a human-human interaction where the computer does some cool work, but really it's the human-human interaction that gets people more integrated socially. And that's really the goal, ultimately, for us with people on the spectrum. Our goal is social integration and happy self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and I love what you said there, because I always say that something that I've been passionate about, that's been a common theme across my work from the get-go, is it may be about, people might think it's about the technology, but it isn't. It's about human to human connection that happens to be mediated through technology. And this is such a wonderful example of that. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to our audience. We have people from all over the world. We have people obviously from the United States, but also from Morocco, Cairo, Berlin, Bangladesh, Brazil. I love how international the audience is today. If you have any questions, please feel free to share those live with us. I'll be taking in questions in a little bit. So Ned, can you share a little bit how many families or kids or adults have been using this, and what are you finding?
Absolutely. So hundreds of people have used this technology and benefited over time. And really hundreds. And this is, I'll say there's a bit of a history here in that we have been around and doing this for 6 or so years, and we started with a lot of science. So what is this? Again, we have a program called Empowered Brain, and that program is a set of these apps that live on the device. And we arrived at that particular program by asking people on the autism spectrum what they want, by asking their parents what they want, and teachers, and really designing in response to what the beneficiaries or the customers want. So there were years of clinical studies, iterative engineering, and clinical trials leading up to now. So we actually have 10 papers published in peer-reviewed medical research journals showing our results. So you ask, well, how does Empowered Brain help people with autism? I'm not just going to give you anecdotes. I can cite 10 published papers, and what we find is an actual positive effect on the brain, on the behavior, and on the report by the parents and teachers of how well adjusted the person on the spectrum seems, as well as the report from the person, the people themselves. So what are the benefits? So using Empowered Brain has been correlated with reducing irritability, reduction in repetitive behaviors, increase in eye contact without a sense of stress or dread about it, increase in social communication skills, and decrease in anxiety, social anxiety.
It's really awesome. I want to give a shout out to kind of the participatory design approach that you've taken. Often when people are designing for minority populations, right, they make a lot of assumptions about what that group needs or wants. And I love that you involved these individuals and these families in the design process, with empathy, right? Like just acknowledging that they really know what, they will be the best kind of judges of what they really need and what their pain points are, and involving them in the process. That's like wonderful. So kudos to that.
For that plug, and that now, if I can shamelessly further plug and say that we hire people on the autism spectrum very intensely, and we've had a dozen and a half over time, many of them interns, but also 3 who've stayed long, including 2 are currently full-time employed with us, who openly identify as being on the autism spectrum. It's part of their identity. And there are some that probably don't openly identify, but we are a very neurodiverse team, and there is so much benefit there. How could we design for and think of the little nuances and subtleties of a population without including them? But also, it's not just that they're that and that is their role. I mean, these are human beings amongst our team from whom we learn and whom we teach, and that happens to be one aspect of who they are, and it's part of a larger diversity. We often can see physical diversity, and we can see racial diversity. It's harder to see the invisible mind diversity, and it's so important for a rich, full team.
I have a couple of questions around the technology, but before I go there, I want to again kind of comment on this diversity and inclusion thought you just shared with us. As you know, I'm very passionate about that, and you're right. Like most people think about when they think about diversity, they think about gender diversity or age or ethnic, but the neurodiversity is equally important. What have you done or doing, what are you doing at Brainpower to ensure that you as a team are supportive of neurodiverse minds and talent? And you know, how do you ensure that they're successful?
It's constant. I'd say at Brainpower, we try to meet you where you are and encourage you to meet us where we are, and the us and you actually fades away. So everyone is encouraged to understand her, his, or their colleagues and to accommodate. So someone might have a registered neurodiversity kind of label, but someone just might not like the sound of chewing. And then someone likes to eat at the desk. And so we have ways of sharing and talking and interacting about those things. So whatever the pairwise accommodations that might be needed, we try to address, and we very overtly reach out. We do a lot of surveys. That's come much to the foreground in COVID times. We're twice a week right now. We check in on a very exhaustive list of questions, how people are doing and what could help them better succeed. We do a lot of managerial meetings with team members. Always could do more, but yeah, really stress this deeply.
Wonderful.
And I think by just treating each other with respect, especially in public events or team lunches, everyone's encouraged. Someone might just join the company and see a couple people who really act differently than other people they've worked with, and they don't know what's going on at first, but no one says it out loud. We just respect each other, and anyone who wasn't used to that immediately gets in line, perhaps by social conformity or perhaps by being an involved person. Yeah.
We have a great comment from Jordan. Yeah, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Go ahead, sorry.
We have a great comment from Jordan. Hi, Jordan. Thank you for modeling healthy behavior, Dr. Sahin. Not many people think about neurodiversity. I wish more leaders spoke about inclusive action the way you and Rana do. So that's great. So do you have any advice for companies who are looking to, you know, they have the intent of hiring inclusively with, you know, any advice?
Yes. So one piece of advice for companies thinking about neurodiversity is that the benefit will spread. When you try very intentionally to respect a specific group, the work you're going to have to do to bend the universe is going to spread to a lot of other people who weren't being respected and didn't really voice it, or it wasn't bad enough to voice it, but everyone will feel better respected. And then the flip side, I think it's important. Companies are a certain type of entity. They need to move forward. They need to make money in order to survive, or they just go away. So it's also good to have a business proposition. And likely, people specifically on the autism spectrum are more likely to be honest and loyal employees. From the stereotype now, but this stereotype is based on data. They're less likely to lie and more likely to like routine. So once in a position that is good and respects them, less likely to be like, you know what, I think I'll just go to Wayfair.
That's awesome.
So
all right.
Like,
that's great advice. Yeah.
You're talking about me so much, Rana. I think I wanted to turn the spotlight back on you a little bit, and specifically because the way that we converged was so interesting. You were working on this project, and then years later you meet me. I had been working on it for years, and I have kept working on it. But we had this evolution. And I started it once someone else was so kind as to put out this amazing, powerful device. You started long before that. So what about your journey beforehand?
Yeah, so we started this project project in 2006. And I remember, obviously, there was no Google Glass. In fact, there weren't even smartphones, right? And so Roz and I wrote a proposal to the National Science Foundation where we basically said we were going to hack all of this, right? So we're going to like create a pair of glasses, attach a camera to it, then tether the camera to a a machine that you carry in your backpack, because iPads weren't around either. And we would run all of this technology on this computer and provide real-time feedback via Bluetooth headset. It was like a whole sophisticated system. And we applied to the National Science Foundation for a small grant. And, months later, the feedback, they sent us their review of the proposal. And they said, love the idea. Love you guys, but it's impossible to build this. And at the time I was still in Cairo. I hadn't even joined MIT. That was supposed to fund me coming to MIT. And so I thought that was the end of it. I was like, okay, bummer. I'll move on to something else. And Roz called me from MIT, gave me a call in Cairo. And she said, read the reviews. They like the idea. Let's go build it and then apply for funding. It was awesome. So she found a way for me to come to the Media Lab. And we built it. And it was crazy because like the webcams at the time looked pretty much like, oh, I can't remove my webcam because then like big webcams, right? You can't just attach it to a pair of glasses. So I went on the internet and I Googled and I found these spy cameras that you could order for like $80. Apparently people put them in their like ties if they wanted to spy on people or their nannies or I don't know, whatever. And so we ordered some of these and we attached them to a pair of glasses and then did the whole thing. And we built a prototype. Then we reapplied to the National Science Foundation for a bigger grant this time. And we got it. But we had to hack it together. We had to make it work. And I mean, I know you as well had to figure out how to make all the pieces work, even with glasses and our technology existing, right?
Well, absolutely. But that's amazing, Rana, and the people in this community have benefited. You started that project and it kind of went to there, and then I independently started this project and we've gone here because now it's a fielded product in the market. Right. And people can use it. But in those years of overlap and in all our time as friends, I think we've benefited. And of course now we get to take some shrink wrapped items. So the glasses came from Google, and the AI for emotion classification comes from Affectiva. So you've created that, put that into the world, co-created that, and so now it's possible. We're both helping the autism community.
You know what? One thing, and as you know, I am very passionate about what you're doing. And I remember the first time we met over lunch, I said, I don't, this is not our main business. This is not our main line of business. And, but I said, I think I can get you a license to the technology, like at no cost or very little cost. And we can just like sneak this in. And so anyways, I know we can be doing more to support you. But it does make me and the team proud that we're able to play a small role in your journey. Okay, so we have some questions. What is the best age range to use this technology for maximum benefit?
Wonderful. It's a broad age range. And let me explain, I'll give an answer, and then I'll explain why that could be true. So a sweet spot might be age 6 to 16. But it includes a little bit younger, so let's say kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, right up to 23. And I say 23 for those in the community understand that that's the age out time. People on the spectrum get services from their state and school district, but they age out of all services at that time. You're supposed to just magically become an adult and emancipated, and if you don't, too bad. So it's a really terrible time. And why is that relevant? Because we specifically got a federal grant and we're applying for another one to work on job transitions. Cool. So a digital job skills and interview skills coach built into it. So the age range is broad, from really 6 to 23 or just adult, let's say. And quickly, the reason is additionally, each game and each app has a therapeutic benefit, as you know, not FDA therapeutic benefit, but as shown in our publications, and it has a level of independence that you can advance through. Say that again. As you get better, you can level up in the app.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's
designed
awesome.
to get better with you and then to help you get more and more independent.
So question, I've always wondered about this. So is this designed as an assistive tool or it's a training tool? So do you see the effects after the kids or the adults take off
Yes.
the glasses?
It's the best of both worlds. Two very important points. You get better at performing the app. You also get better at skills after you're not playing it. Right? So
That's
it generalizes. And
generalizes. Yeah.
secondly, you don't wear it all day. So this is not an all-day, you could say, cognitive prosthetic. It is a training tool for a focused session.
That's
I'll work
awesome.
with you for 10 minutes on making, looking toward your face. I'll work with you for 10 minutes to help me learn how to relax myself and reduce anxiety. But then the rest of the day, I practice that on my own without wearing the tool.
That's awesome. That's great. We have more comments and questions coming in. Thank you, Tarit. Tarit says, congrats, Dr. Ned, for this outstanding technology, but he has to go eat now because he's in Cairo and it's iftar time. It's Ramadan. Ramadan Kareem to you too, Tarit. We have people from India, Pakistan, Mexico. That's super cool. All right. Another question. Have you partnered with behavior therapy centers focused on autism? And how does a child who is mildly on the autism spectrum enroll in this project?
Absolutely. We've worked with many behavioral specialists, BCBAs, ABA specialists, and others. I know that, maybe 40% people out there distrust ABA. That's fine. We don't stick to a methodology or ideology. We go with what works, and we go with what the people and their parents want. But we've had great partnerships, and we are looking for more. So if that person or others are representing BCBA syndicates or others practicing other methods, contact at brain-power.com. But if you're interested for high functioning, if you like that terminology, person on the spectrum, we certainly have tools for you. And again, the best thing is just go to the website, brain-power.com. And yeah.
That's great. We can also link to that after when we share the recording. Okay, so I want to switch topics a little bit. Obviously, with coronavirus and this global pandemic, it is challenging and trying times for all of us in different ways. But often with these crises, it disproportionately impacts, populations struggle, right? And so I'm curious, how has COVID impacted families and children on the autism spectrum, and how are you helping?
The coronavirus pandemic has been horrible for families touched by autism, and we're trying to help for sure. So again, each person on the spectrum is unique, but on average, people on the spectrum like routine and predictability.
Certainty. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else likes certainty and predictability? Humans. We're all humans. We're all on the spectrum. But people officially on the spectrum, that's something that on average they want more or benefit from more. Certainty, predictability. And there's none right now. There's none. Scientists are doing the best they can, and this is a time in COVID that we should respect scientists.
Mm-hmm.
A little flash tip about how science is done. You don't get an answer in one day. And scientists disagree because they're working on different parts of the problem. Right. So we won't have certainty. This is a years problem, not a days and weeks problem. So right now, there's no certainty, and people on the spectrum are at home. They don't have the regular routine of school. Family doesn't have even a family routine that was made for this. And now parents are tearing their hair out. They're disagreeing with each other. The gods that make the world of these kids are crumbling. So they don't have certainty. They then have behaviors, which can be coping mechanisms, and they can get very, very out of control. And parents get more stressed. They all feel each other's stress. They're living together in a small place. This is a pressure cooker for everyone, but times 10 or times 100 for people on the spectrum.
I can't even imagine what it's like. I mean, I have four kids at home now. My daughter and our two boarders are pretty independent because they're 16 and 17-year-olds. My son, who's 11, I'm a busy woman, and I literally just have him like jump on Zoom and do online learning classes. And I just think, if he was on the spectrum, I couldn't do that. So I really feel for families and working parents who have to, balance that and handle that. It's probably not easy at all. So how are you helping?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's a huge number of working single parents who are beside themselves and don't know what to do. We're helping in a couple ways. One, we're trying to provide very easy to consume, small brain bites, pieces of information that people suffering through this uncertainty can consume. So a 10-minute micro course, little brain bite on how to predict that there's going to be a meltdown, or how to de-escalate a child who's getting upset, or how to handle your own anxiety, or how to model calm behavior around someone else who needs it, even when underneath you're going nuts, but do that in your own space. So very easy to consume things. Those will be on our website within a week. And also supporting the teachers. 3.2 million teachers in America doing their best. They're on the front lines. Parents hate them right now, and they hate the schools right now because they're the ones in the front lines. They never got trained for this, and finally realize how much work that they do taking care of their kids all day.
Oh my God! Yes,
it is crazy. So we just got licensed by the state of Massachusetts to provide what's called professional development points. So we can teach teachers officially, and they can get reimbursed and can advance in their career by learning these ways of providing special education to kids at a distance.
That is wonderful. That's awesome. Congratulations. And I love the brain bites. I feel like we all need those. So we'll be watching out for your website. All right. So Jessica, we'll give you some time to put it all together. So Jessica's asking, do you have speech language pathologists collaborating with you? She's an SLP, and I happen to know that she's looking for job opportunities too. So
wonderful. We have some collaborators. We're open to more. So email me.
Awesome. All right, Jessica, email Ned. All right. Awesome work, Dr. Sahin. How long would you need to wear these glasses before the results stick and persist and the kids don't need the glasses?
Thank you. So question is sort of how long do you use it? And I'll break that down into both the question of how long per day or per week, and then how long is a training program to acquire a skill? Those are two different questions. And we recommend is this 10 to 30 minutes per day. That's all. If you're learning the times tables, you don't do it for 8 hours a day. If you're learning to bounce a basketball, you don't do it for 8 hours a day. The brain learns by short bursts that you repeat every day. And so 10 to 30 minutes a day, and you're really doing a lot of work. Now, the length, we've seen effects in 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks only.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing, we're not saying you recommend stopping it after 2 weeks. Keep going. It's like with a diet plan, you can see results in 2 weeks, but you don't stop there. But
Right.
we do see that, and we've published that in our papers. So that's reassuring that you don't have to like try this for a year before you notice something. But then look at it as like work on this for a semester, and you should be pretty good with one of the skills. And that's why there are different apps for different skills, so you can work your way up towards self-sufficiency.
That's great. Martha has a question. Dr. Rana, do you think AI can help with depression, like the case in autism? So Martha, I am very passionate about the applications of emotion AI in mental health. And in fact, I'm thinking that I'm going to dedicate one of the virtual book tour events to focusing on mental health. It's a very timely, obviously, topic right now with the amount of stress and anxiety that people have. We know from research that we haven't done ourselves, but that has been done at other research labs, that there are facial and vocal biomarkers for depression. And in fact, there's even work done to look at suicidal intent just based on your facial behaviors. So what that means is that there's a huge potential to apply this technology in mental health. When you walk into a doctor's office today, well, we don't do that anymore that much, but they don't ask you what is your temperature or what's your blood pressure. They just measure it. But in mental health, the gold standard is still a survey, on a scale from 1 to 10, how depressed are you, or how suicidal are you, or how much pain are you in? And there's an opportunity to bring objective behavioral data. And really, we are spending so much time on our devices. So you can imagine how every single time you're on your device, it's an opportunity to capture your mental health baseline, so that if you start deviating from that, it could flag that to you. It could flag that to a family member. It could also maybe flag that with your permission to a doctor or clinician. So I believe there's a lot of, applications and implications of that technology. And there's a whole chapter in my book, Girl Decoded, that's dedicated to the applications of emotion AI to mental health. And I interview Professor Stephen Vanoy, who's also a phenomenal researcher at UMass Boston. And maybe we'll have an opportunity to host him as, in one of these events. Another question, can you use brain powers technology and apply that to meditation or mindfulness?
Absolutely.
Have you thought of that?
Oh, yeah. So thank you for the question about mindfulness and meditation. Two things. In our Brain Bites that will be at brain-power.com soon, there are several modules on meditation and mindfulness and de-escalating yourself. Then the device helps with anxiety. One app we have that's somewhat related is called Transition Master. Transition Master focuses on transitions to new places, new routines, new normal, and new situations. You get immersed in that environment. So if I'm going to a new school or going to a supermarket or a restaurant, I'm scared before I go there, then I get to feel like I'm there. I see it, I hear the sounds of it, and I'm really immersed. It's not just a picture, because I'm
so cool.
Seeing where if I look up at the corner, maybe I want to know where the lights are, maybe I want to know where the sound source is. I can see that beforehand, and it's a gradual exposure therapy, so I get more used to it beforehand. And then there's another one that picks up when there are signs of distress. We can measure things like eye blinks and movements, and then gives you a meditation, like a beautiful warbly screensaver to follow or a breathing exercise, and you can de-escalate, and we can actually measure that you did. So several.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely. We have a comment from Miri Goldberg. Hi, Miri. Miri was one of my collaborators at MIT Media Lab. She was still a master's student at the time, and now she's an MD. And she says, love that chapter of Girl Decoded. Definitely worth the read if you're interested in the applications of these tools to mental health interventions. Thank you, Miri, and it's so glad to see you Hope the baby's well. Zahra asks, children on the autism spectrum often have a difficult time controlling their pitch. So they need therapy to not speak too loudly. Does your methodology also build in gain points when someone is speaking with the appropriate pitch range? That's a great question. So they're not just talking about vision, but maybe voice as well. Have you looked into that?
Oh, yes, we have. We have an app in the future, so you got to come now and
right.
But that app is called Inside Voice, and there's a double pun there, and it's all about matching the DBSPL, like the sound level of your room, to the sound level of your voice, and to the context, because it's a non-trivial question. How far away is the person you're talking to? How loud is the room? What is the standard deviation of the loudness of the room? And what kind of speech act is this? But
That's
with all those factors, which a computer is better at computing than humans sometimes, it gives you very simple gamified feedback to find your inside voice.
That is awesome. I can't wait to see that one. That's great. So I want to switch topics a little bit. We're both CEOs and founders of tech startups, and how has it been for you leading the team through COVID? How's the team doing, first of all, and can you share some of your best practices?
Thank you. COVID gave us all a challenge, and it came out of nowhere, and it's happened fast. The strength of a person or an entity is not how they do on a good day, right? It's how they do on a bad day. And this has been potentially a bad day for 67 days. I think we're March 67th right now.
Yeah, totally.
And probably 50 of quarantine. So Brain Power had a very, very strong in-person culture. In fact, I really did not like the work from home requests. And I said, we are there struggling through this together. We're going to see each other. We're going to be able to walk over to each other's desks and talk and create meetings. There's tons of meeting rooms near us. We can do that. And suddenly, in one fell swoop, we're all working from home. We're not just working from home. We're working from home with kids, with other, partner, so much else. So we have managed it extremely well, and I'm so proud of the Brain Power team for this. We use Zoom and Hangouts, Meet, and other chat situations, and we enforce meetings as meetings. You come on time, you pay attention, and you get things done on the agenda. Our meetings have become more efficient. We finish on time more often, and you see everyone's face square. Now, for others out there who are entrepreneurs, do you notice, A, that you're on Zoom a lot? Do you notice that you get more tired after, say, 4 hours of meetings than
oh my God, yes.
You want to know why? And it's so wonderful that it's in this conversation. When you're in a regular meeting, you're not socially required or expected to make eye contact the whole time. You look down, you look over there, there's one person who's up, but it's not real eye contact because they're up in a distance, and then you're kind of jotting notes, doing this and that. Like, that's okay, that's socially acceptable. Maybe even get up and go to the bathroom. In a Zoom meeting, we're squared up to the camera. The camera is not even as fun to look at as a face. You might think faces are stressful, but a camera is pretty awkward. It's out of the right plane. And everyone else's face is right there. If you see someone twitching, you see someone picking a nose, or someone leave Zoom on, she or he goes to the bathroom, there's hell to pay. So we have to be more mindful and perform better eye contact. So it's so funny that this is a case lesson in how stressful eye contact is, and so we have empathy for our brethren on the spectrum. As a company, we try to very clearly communicate even more. I used to say that non-traditional relationships or long-distance relationships, you have to be better at relationship. Relationship is a skill, and you need to do it as well if you're just kind of there and you get to cuddle a lot. Same things with the company. If you don't get to have in-person meetings, you need to be better at meeting control, information control, and transparency. And that, yeah, transparency. And it's a
Yeah,
perfect
totally.
segue to, I think, another topic that you and I both share, which is, why would we need transparency? One big reason we need transparency is if we're going to change the name of the game. And
Right.
in an uncertain time, if you do the same thing as you always did, you die. That simple. You die
Right.
as an
Right.
entity, as a being. So, as a company, the response to a challenge is to meet the challenge. And that challenge is changing every day, and so does the company. So, at the top, as a CEO, I have to be rethinking the entire 5 years future of the company every week. And
Mm.
there's a real issue there because many people who work for a company and didn't start one really don't want their 5 years future to change every week.
Yeah, and this is something, yeah, we talked a little bit about that. Like I am definitely kind of feeling the tension between hunkering down on the strategy that we've had, we put in place at the beginning of the year. We spent a lot of time thinking through it, but also leaning in to the potential opportunities that could arise for our technology and our business, given the state of the world. And for us, there's a lot of applicability for our technology in virtual events and webcasting and web conferencing, maybe even online learning and telehealth. And so, I definitely kind of want to lean into these opportunities and explore them, but at the same time, I don't want to be yanking the team in different directions. And so we're trying to approach it in a very thoughtful way where we can balance. Yes, we're on our, we're kind of, what's the word, sticking to our strategy, but also we have antennas up in case there are other potential opportunities to explore. And I like what you said about kind of, having empathy and making sure that, people are staying connected. I think that's important too. All right. So, you know that I am a huge fan of you, but also your wife. So you guys are a power couple. Your wife, Nicole Sahin, is founder and CEO of Globalization Partners, an amazing startup in the Boston area, and it's global. So first of all, love that love that you are such, you're a great supporter of Nicole's work. And I guess I wanted to hear your thoughts on how do you navigate this world of being such a high-powered couple. Like, how do you support each other?
Thank you.
And are you quarantining? Are you not quarantining, but are you like isolating together or whatever, social distancing together, whatever the technical term is?
My co-CEO wife and I are in a spaceship together. It's
I love
one.
that. That's more fun.
Yeah, we're in a spaceship together. So, and actually, it's the wrong term. It's not a co-CEO. We're co-life partners. She is a
Mm.
CEO. I am a CEO, and she runs a very different company, an enormous company, an amazing company. And she is so amazing at being a CEO. I try to learn from her every day. It's amazing. If I could do half of what she does well, we'd be serving so many more people with autism out there. My company, Brain Power, helps kids with autism and adults. Uh, Nicole's company, Globalization Partners, helps the world become smaller. It's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She breaks
Yeah.
down the
Very cool.
barriers to doing international business. And it's not about like headhunting and hiring in other countries, it's the everything else that allows
Right.
those people to be employed under the umbrella of her multinational empire. And so she's doing that. She has branch offices in I don't know how many countries now, a dozen, 2 dozen.
Amazing.
She
Love
has
it.
employees whom she's never met, who have then hired sets of employees under them who she definitely has never met. And it's amazing. So she runs that empire inherently remotely. So she had the lead on all of us in terms of running a company from afar. But what none of us had was this experience of shelter in place for a
Yeah.
month. And she and I are doing that together. We're hunkered down in our spaceship, and I have to say we love it. There's a bit of a survival guilt that
Yeah.
That's one of my lessons to people is don't be afraid to feel joy. Those people who've lived through a country that's gone through war know that even in war, children laugh, adults get jealous, bakeries make bad bread and good bread days. It's just life goes on. So we are not afraid to say that we're really enjoying spending more time with each other than we ever have. We're both CEOs, fast growing companies. We
And it
travel a
must
lot.
be, I mean, I know that it must be super stressful for both of you from a business standpoint, just to navigate the change. So how are you, yeah, what, like, give us your top 3 things that couples out there should do to, I don't know, stay
Uh,
healthy and stay in the relationship, really, right?
yes, communicate. They say the first rules of real estate are location, location, and location, and the first 3 rules of relationships are communication, communication, and communication, verbal and
Cool.
nonverbal. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd say schedule everything. Schedule
Okay.
everything. Think with that. Just think about that for a little while, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
if
interesting.
you don't measure it, you don't get it. If you don't schedule it, you don't get it. So, what we all need most in this time of uncertainty is some kind of certainty. So, schedule things. You know, there's meals, there's other things. Schedule them. They're important. They are just as important as anything else you desire. So, that's one thing. What else? um, I'd say just there's another fake rule of relationships I like to say, which is don't both be in emotional need of each other at the same time. And it's fake because actually, when someone is in need, it's often at a time that the other is in need. And that's
Right.
because, like, well, I'm needy right now, so you have to listen to me, and my feelings are important. Well, like, I'm hurt, so I'm not emotionally available to listen to your feelings. Well, then we're just going to go at each other. So, if that's a rule that you could try for, we can't because it always comes inconveniently. Then, if someone is, if your partner is doing something that makes you feel like, wait, but that kind of hurt, remember that the most likely possibilities that the other person is also feeling hurt at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
just both of you try to be the bigger person. If either of you succeeds, you'll
Yeah.
get out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, we have to wrap up. We're still getting some questions, so we'll try to answer that offline. We are both in the AI space, and many people are afraid of AI and don't trust AI. But again, both of us are applying AI in a wonderful way. I mean, I fundamentally believe that this technology can and will transform people's lives. So, what would your message be to people out there that is kind of a more hopeful message around the role that AI will play in our lives?
AI is a tool. Every tool can be used. Every tool can be used for good and for evil. Um, a stone was probably our first tool as a species. It can be used to hit someone over the head, or it can be fashioned into a clock, a sundial. Use tools well, embarrass people who use them poorly. So society should be vigilant about AI being used for evil and should culturally shame them, but don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Don't throw away the entire tool just because it could be misused. They'll just take the next tool down the chain and misuse that. AI uniquely can be used for extremely human purposes. It begins in
Mm-hmm.
a computer, but it's there to support us humans. We built it, and we can do things like bring people together in ways they've never been able to relate, give information in a real-time basis that they need. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, 80% of people with autism are unemployed permanently, 80%. But we have a digital job coaching tool at
Right.
Brainpower. We're trying to get people into happy self-sufficiency. You are bringing emotional awareness to a whole ubiquitous world of computing, and this is a tool that can be used for so much good. We might together be able to prevent people's daughters from committing suicide. Young
Right.
people, the most likely way they'll die is a car accident. The next most likely way is suicide. That's
Right.
an emotional and a disease state as well. It's important to remember that, but it can be addressed at a behavioral and emotional and support system level. So AI is a tool. Some people will misuse it. Encourage us who are using it well, I believe, to do our work. Don't block it, because otherwise there won't even be a counterexample for all your dystopian future ideas. And Rana, what about you? Because you are someone who's bringing the human side to computing.
All right, everybody, we are, thank you, Ned. We are at the top of the hour. This was a wonderful conversation. And I'm just so grateful that you made time for us, and stay well and stay safe, and say hi to Nicole in your spaceship. And hopefully we'll see each other soon in person. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in wherever in the world you are. And if you are reading Girl Decoded, do share your stories with me. It really just makes this whole experience worthwhile. So I look forward to hearing from you all. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.